Welcome everyone to today's webinar. Before we begin, we'd like to let you know that today's session is being recorded for future viewing. You'll be able to access the recording of the Parkinson YouTube channel. To report any technical issues at any time during the webinar, please go to the panel at the right of your screen. To open and close this panel, click on the red tab and use the To Admin and Ask a Question buttons to type in and submit your request. In the event that your connection is unstable, you may use the Reconnect button at the top of your screen. Our guest today is Nicole Mahabir. Nicole is the founder and director of Jai Wellness, a platform for the education, mindful living, and well-being. For the past 15 years, Nicole has led professional certified programs teaching nutrition, meditation, Ayurveda, yoga therapy, and natural rejuvenation practices. When she isn't teaching, Nicole creates integrated sustainable health protocols for her busy clients, and she leads international corporate and wellness retreats. Nicole is a senior contributor for CBC and has been featured in City Post magazine, Oxygen, Now magazine, the Manifesto, and the Huffington Post. Please feel free to add into the chat any questions you have as they come to mind. We will make every attempt to answer all questions after the presentation. And with that, let's welcome Nicole.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Nicole Mahabir, and I will be guiding you through a practice today that helps with interventions for anxiety, stress, and fear. I am an international teacher of yoga therapy, Ayurveda, and natural medicine, and it's a pleasure to be here with you today. So let's begin. All right. So the overview for today, we'll just be looking into and discussing holistic practices and wellness routines that you can incorporate throughout your day to help with rest, resilience, and relaxation. So during the session today, we will be reviewing breath techniques and meditation, which is part of Hatha Yoga, mindfulness practices, cognitive behavioral therapy, and lifestyle and sleep routines, which are based on the ancient science of Ayurveda. So what is the holistic approach and why is it important? What I'd like to share is a little bit about what holistic medicine is and how Hatha Yoga is actually part of that. Contrary to popular belief, Hatha Yoga is more than just a physical practice, but it has the potential to improve the functional deficits and challenges associated with Parkinson's disease. So Hatha Yoga is a discipline originating in India that consists of postures known as asanas, diaphragmatic breathing or pranayama, and meditation, which we call in Sanskrit dhyana. So during these practices that we'll be experiencing today, which will be mostly meditation and breath work, the mind is encouraged to focus on what is occurring around the body and in the body. So where the body is placed in space as well. And this increases both our internal awareness and our proprioception, the awareness around us as well, and our movement within space. So studies show that the development and testing of these yoga-based interventions, which include not only physical posture, but diaphragmatic breathing, pranayama, and meditation or dhyana, can significantly improve our gait and our mobility, as well as our balance to decrease the fall rates of people who might have Parkinson's disease. And I've attached here a link for more references regarding this, if you'd like to take a look. So within that, the holistic approach includes complementary medicine. And so complementary therapeutic practices of relaxation and mindful interventions can be utilized to decrease stress, anxiety, and fear, and induce prolonged states of the relaxation response. Meditation, mindfulness, and breath work all activate the parasympathetic nervous system, bringing calm and rest to the body, mind, and also to our emotions. These tools can be used to also help us observe life situations with a realistic and positive outlook to cultivate problem-solving skills and interventions that are within our control. And so when we're experiencing anxiety and we can feel like our life is spinning out of control, these practices and tools can help control to come back to us. So the holistic approach encompasses the health and wellness of the mind, the body, the emotions, and the senses, which we'll be exploring today. And this is the Ayurvedic approach. Ayurveda is a holistic naturopathic medicine, which also hails from India, and it is translated as the science of life. It is an ancient sister science of yoga, and it dates to about 5,000 years old, as does yoga, focusing on internal medicine, nutrition, and lifestyle protocols. Today, we will explore how to work with the mind, the body, emotions, and the senses to foster resilience, rest, and relaxation. So let's talk a little bit about the definitions for a moment before we head into the practices. What is resilience? So we know that the American Psychological Association, or the AMA, defines resilience as a process of adapting well in the face of adversity, trauma, tragedy, threat, and significant sources of stress. So including family, relationships, work, serious health problems, financial stressors, etc. And resilience involves behaviors, thoughts, and actions that anyone can learn and develop. When we look at this from the holistic approach, we can also consider the mind, mental health, emotional wellness, physical health, and sensory care that contribute to maintaining and sustaining our wellness, our well-being, and our resilience. So what is stress and the stress response? Stress is a reaction to a situation. We can feel stressed when we think that the demands of a situation are greater than our resources, and therefore it becomes more difficult to deal with the situation. The Canadian Mental Health Association, the CMHA, defines stress as the body's response to a real or perceived threat. And that response is meant to prepare the body for some kind of action to get out of danger. Stress activates our sympathetic nervous system. It accelerates our adrenal glands, our cortisol levels, and the hormonal balance, creating a state of fight or flight. In this state, it's hard for us to concentrate, to make decisions, and to feel confident. And many people experience physical sensations like sweating, a racing heart, or tense muscles. Over time, stress can have a big impact on our physical health. And this includes sleep difficulties, headaches, common problems related to stress can also be heart palpitations. So people are also more likely to get sick when they're experiencing a lot of stress. So the Center of Addiction and Mental Health, CAMH, outlines that the signs and symptoms of stress may be cognitive, thinking related, emotional, physical, and behavioral. And their severity can range from mild to severe. So we're going to take a look at a couple of these symptoms in each section. Cognitive symptoms can include difficulty concentrating and thinking, memory problems, negativity, lack of self-confidence, constant worry, and difficulty making decisions. Emotional symptoms can include moodiness, feeling hopeless or helpless, feeling apprehensive or anxious and nervous, depressed, feeling unhappy or guilty, feeling agitated or unable to relax. And behavioral systems or symptoms that can change are changes in eating and sleeping patterns, social withdrawal, nervous habits such as nail biting, teeth grinding, or foot tapping, neglect of family or work responsibilities, decline in performance or productivity. And physical symptoms could include headache, muscle tension, or other physical pain, or discomfort. We can have stomach problems, nausea, diarrhea, vomiting, rapid heart rate, and high blood pressure. So from the perspective of mindfulness, when we see the stress and the stress responses, we would have an inquiry at this time. Are there any things that we are experiencing right now in our lives that are cognitive, emotional, behavioral, and physical? We would take the moment to actually check in and see, where are we now? What is our internal space experiencing? And how are we responding to our environment? Stress in the time of COVID-19. So most of us can be experiencing changes that are happening in response to COVID-19. And many of the threats that people are facing today are not necessarily threats that we can run away from when we're in a state of fight or flight and we've engaged the sympathetic nervous system. They are actually problems that we need to face and to work through. And therefore, holistic approaches can help us, support us in this time. As we're experiencing COVID-19, there are increased pressures and many, many stressors, including changes in our work-life situation, the space around us, isolation, financial concerns, uncertainty and illness, and there's also death and grieving. While some stress, as we know, can motivate us to focus on a task or take action to solve a problem, in this situation, the stressors have been prolonged and people may start to feel overwhelmed and that they're not able to resolve the situation that they're facing. And because they're not able to resolve this and it is becoming prolonged, states of anxiety and fear can ensue and increase. So let's look at what anxiety is and what fear is. The clinical definition of anxiety is an emotion characterized by apprehension and somatic symptoms of tension in which an individual anticipates impending danger, catastrophe, or misfortune. Anxiety can also affect our thinking, such as that we might be fearful of losing control or feel constant dread that something might happen in the future. So there's a lot of future reference. And the body might often mobilize itself then to meet that perceived threat. And the body can respond by the muscles becoming tense, our breath becomes faster, and the heart beats more rapidly. Fear is also a very powerful emotion. It is considered primitive human emotion, and it alters us in the presence of danger. It keeps us with critical thinking, and in many ways it could have helped our ancestors during their time and lives if they needed to respond to circumstances of immediate threat or danger. Fear can be divided into two responses, biochemical and emotional. The biochemical response is universal, while the emotional response is highly individual. So anxiety is one subjective individual expression of fear. Now, looking into COVID-19, the question would arise, why do we become anxious and fearful in times of uncertainty? Most of us want stability and predictability in our lives. We want to know that the world is going to be as it was when we went to sleep and when we wake up in the morning, that there aren't any changes. And if there is change, we would like that change to be predictable, to be known on our own terms rather than to be uncertain. So this is why we can often feel anxious during times that we face the unknown. Anxiety has a cyclical pattern of thought. So if it is not interrupted, it can tend to run its course. Rumination in the form of repetitive thoughts is often aligned with anxiety. Panic and anxiety are perpetuated by feedback loops among the physical, cognitive, our thinking processes, and behavioral response systems. There are several ways that we can begin to work with our fear and anxiety in real time. So let's explore a few options that can be helpful. So previously we were speaking about the holistic approach, and that involves the mind, the body, the emotions, and the senses. We'll begin by looking into the mind and some of the practices that we can do, how they work and function to help us come back into a rest response and activate the parasympathetic nervous system. We'll begin by exploring meditation. What is meditation? So meditation is actually a natural state of our mind. It is a peaceful condition. In yoga, we say that yoga is the stilling of the sensations in the mind. And so the mind enters a state of peace. Meditation is not something that we do, but there are tools that can help us to concentrate and enter a state of peace and meditation. So the techniques for meditation consist of focus and awareness, bringing our attention to the present moment. Examples of tools for concentration can be a sound or a word, which we would call mantra, an object, a subject or an image, the breath, or focused attention on the present moment. And meditation can also take place standing, walking, seated on the ground, or in a chair, and you can also be lying down. So meditation is not limited to being seated in one place. It is simply about allowing yourself to be in a space and to attend to it. Now, what is mindfulness meditation? Mindfulness is a tool of concentration that involves the maintaining of a moment-by-moment awareness of our thoughts, feelings, our bodily sensations, and our surrounding environment. And this is done through a gentle and nurturing lens. So there is no judgment. Mindfulness can also be practiced walking, standing, seated, or lying down. Meditation, mindfulness, and breath practices can all assist us to overcome the symptoms of stress, manage our internal energy, and induce the relaxation response, thereby reducing anxiety, fear, and stress. So I'd like to invite you now to take part in a practice that I will guide you through. And it is called autogenic training, working with the mind in order to induce a relaxation response. So the autogenic training was developed by a German psychiatrist, Johannes Heinrich Schultz, and it fosters communication between the body and the mind. As being able to manage pain, it has been used to alleviate stress, to improve sleep, and to reduce fatigue. So in a comfortable position, whatever that might be for you right now, I would invite you to take a seat and place your feet flat on the floor. And just have the head, neck, and spine free and relaxed. And gently and slowly when you're ready, just closing the eyes down. Taking a moment just to breathe here, noticing your breath, just allowing it to be as it is. Gently and slowly beginning to inhale through the nose and exhale through the nose at your own pace. Feeling the body becoming more and more relaxed as you inhale and exhale. Inhaling and exhaling. Taking another breath at your own pace. Inhaling and gently and slowly exhaling. And as your body becomes more relaxed, I will begin to repeat phrases. And I'd like you, in your own mind, in your own voice, inaudibly, to repeat those phrases at your own pace. Breathing in and breathing out. As you inhale, inhaling the thought, my mind is calm. Repeating in your own mind, my mind is calm. My mind is calm. My arm is relaxed. My right arm is relaxed. My mind is calm. My left arm is relaxed. My mind is calm. My right leg is relaxed. My mind is calm. My left leg is relaxed. My mind is calm. My abdomen is relaxed and warm. My mind is calm. My breathing is regular and smooth. My mind is calm. My body is relaxed and warm. My mind is calm. Gently and slowly coming back to the breath. Just noticing your body, feeling the seat beneath you. Feet are anchored on the floor as you gently and slowly begin to open the eyes. Breathing in and breathing out. Just taking a moment to notice. Notice if that practice worked for you and how it felt. That you were able to use your own inner commands, your own voice in your mind. So now I'd like to draw a little bit on cognitive behavioral therapy and interventions that we can use for relaxation response in the body. We'll begin by speaking about positive and realistic self-talk. So what is cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT? CAMH, the Center of Addiction and Mental Health, defines CBT as a practical, short-term form of psychotherapy. It helps people to develop skills and strategies to become and to stay healthy. CBT focuses on the here and now, the present, on the problems that come up in day-to-day life. And CBT helps people to examine how they may make sense of what is happening around them and how these perceptions affect how they feel. And so that definition again comes from CAMH, the Center of Addiction and Mental Health. So one of the interventions we can use is positive and realistic self-talk. And the Mayo Clinic writes that positive thinking lowers the rate of depression, increases longevity, gives greater resistance to the common cold, and produces better coping skills during times of stress. An optimistic approach also creates a broader outlook of terms of seeing what is achievable in life. And this practice specifically has been used to promote resilience. So we know that anxiety can often induce the feeling of being out of control, and that one can get lost in the experience of feeling anxiety. So when anxiety begins to increase, it's important to become completely present with what is happening in the present moment, in the now, and to envision a positive outcome, and that there is an end to the anxiety. Although it is uncomfortable, that it will pass. So positive self-talk is an intervention that can bring the mind back to reality in a safe and caring way. It is a simple way to reduce anxiety and to use, again, the internal voice to address what is happening and to acknowledge that there is an end within reach. Positive and realistic self-talk phrases could be, even if I'm feeling anxiety right now, it will pass. Even if this feels uncomfortable right now, it will come to an end soon. I can cope. I've been through difficult situations before. So taking a moment, taking a breath. I'm more than my anxiety. It is a state, that will pass. So reassuring positive self-talk helps the person not to get lost in the experience of overwhelm and anxiety. So those are a couple interventions that we can use with the mind and to work with the mind. And now we'll move into focusing on the breath. So commonly we call this breath work. Traditionally, it is known as pranayama, and it is a yogic science of breathing, known as, again, in the ancient language of Sanskrit, pranayama. So this is a technique of breathing and breath retention that is practiced to increase vitality, longevity, and life force in the body. Pranayama practices include the observation, the control, expansion, retention, and manipulation of the breath. Pranayama is a mechanism that can help to increase our memory, improve circulation, and promote oxygenation of the blood. A recent study showed that the physical and cognitive benefits associated with yoga and mindfulness may be due to mechanisms including pranayama and activation of the parasympathetic nervous system. This activation prompts the body to rest, rejuvenate, and regenerate efficiently, allowing the system to detoxify and also return to homeostasis. So before we begin the breath practice, we'll speak a little bit about how to work with the breath. And one interesting part about pranayama is that in the yogic texts and science, we often see that if there's a deficit of prana or breath, that we can start to have loss of motor skills. We can see tremors in the body. We can also suffer from joint mobility issues. And so the intervention from a yoga therapy perspective would be to really equilibrate and to bring that prana and breath back into the body in order to retain it and to reconnect the mind, body, the emotions, and the senses. This is how this would be perceived. So before we begin a breath practice, what we want to ensure is that we are breathing properly. And so when we are in a state of fight or flight, when we are in an active state as well, when we breathe in, what we can see is that as we inhale, instead of the abdomen filling, the abdomen will actually pull towards the spine. And again, this is if we're in fight or flight, if we're under heavy stress. So let's take a moment as a practice just to notice how we're actually breathing. So I'd like to invite you to just breathe in and see if the abdomen expands or if the navel draws towards the spine. And then as you exhale, notice, is the abdomen expanding when you're exhaling, or is the navel pulling towards the spine? So if you're in a resting state, when you breathe in, the belly should expand, the abdomen should expand outward, almost like you're filling it with a balloon. And when you breathe out, the navel should draw towards the spine. And so we have to reset the nervous system oftentimes, because if we're in a state of fight or flight, it's the opposite action. We're reverse breathing. And that means, again, just taking notice on your next breath, breathing in, expanding the belly, feeling the abdomen rise, and breathing out, exhaling through the nose, feeling the navel draw towards the spine. This is a resting state. Now, if you're in a stress state, when you breathe in, navel will draw towards the spine. The chest will rise. And when you breathe out, the stomach will actually fall and expand. The chest will move down. So we want to first begin to breathe properly, which means that when we're inhaling, belly is rising and expanding. When we're exhaling, navel is drawing towards the spine. So let's pay attention to that first as we start to move into the practices. I have a reference here as well if you'd like to learn more about that. So one of the most effective practices when teaching interventions for anxiety and prevention is to slowly exhale through the mouth, to slow the breath down. We can observe that when we are in a state of anxiety, fear, or even sadness, that the breath changes, it increases. And what we want to do is we want to reset the nervous system out of the fight or flight and stress by slowing down the breath. One of the best ways to do this is inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. So we'll practice this together. Shifting our awareness to the breath is always very key to draw focus away from our anxiety and towards equilibrating the breath as well. So conscious awareness while we're breathing. It also increases our awareness of what is happening. It allows us to acknowledge the anxiety, and it helps us to see that we can change our state and we can take control. Exhaling through the mouth has the capacity to decrease anxiety and to bring you back to a mental and emotional state of focus, relaxation, and peace. So this is a very easy and simple technique that you can do anywhere at any time. Again, the exhalation as we begin should be through the mouth, and it's an inaudible release, almost like an uplifting sigh that allows you to feel settled and released from worry. I will demonstrate for you. So a long inhalation, belly rises, and then a longer exhalation. Navel pulls towards the spine. So again, for this practice, you'll inhale for a long count of 1, and you'll exhale for a long count of 2. The breath will be smooth and slow. So taking a moment now, just to practice, placing your feet flat on the floor, and the neck and the head are free. Spine can be free but supported, feeling straight, rolling the shoulders back if you need. Chest is open. Gently and slowly, we begin by drawing our awareness first to our breath, just as it is, and noticing this time, as you inhale, that the belly will rise, and that as you exhale, that the abdomen will draw towards the spine. If it's easier for you, you can also place your palms on the abdomen as you breathe in and breathe out. Drawing the awareness to the breath, we begin by deeply and steadily inhaling through the nose for a long count of 1. Inhaling in now, expanding the abdomen. And gently and slowly exhaling through the mouth for a long count of 2. 1 and 2. Exhaling down. We'll take another breath here. Inhaling, expanding the belly. Long count of 1, and exhaling through the mouth. 1 and 2. Exhaling all the way down. And then just coming back to a regular breath now and noticing. There's no right or wrong, so it's just about inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the mouth. And we repeat this practice until our anxiety begins to dissipate. And again, if it's more comfortable for you, you can always place your palms down onto the abdomen as you breathe. This is called diaphragmatic breathing. Now, the other piece is that we can just simply equalize the breath with what we call equal ratio breathing, 1-1 breath. So when we experience anxiety, fear, or pain, our breath again can become agitated or irregular. Equal ratio breathing allows us to return the breath back to a rhythm that is stable and relaxed. And again, what we would do is we place our feet flat on the floor and slowly begin to inhale and to exhale. This time, ensuring that the breath count is equal. So it can be a breath count of inhaling through the nose, 1, exhaling through the nose, 1. It can be a count of inhaling through the nose, 1, 2, exhaling through the nose, 1, 2, etc. Generally, we would work our way up to a count of 6. Inhaling for a count of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, again through the nose, and exhaling down for that count of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But whatever is comfortable for you. So begin with just a 1-1 ratio, and then you can work your way up to a 6-6 ratio. You can sit, again, you can do this standing as well. Sitting is preferable with the feet anchored on the ground. And this, again, equilibrates the breath. And in this way, when we're working with the breath, we're also working to release any emotions that are being held and to, again, bring a rest response back into the system. All right, so now we'll move towards the practices of the body. One practice that we can do that's very accessible to us is called progressive muscle relaxation. And what we do is first, we stimulate the sympathetic nervous system, which then auto resets into the parasympathetic nervous system into a state of relaxation. And then this again can be accessible to you anywhere at any time. The one precaution is that if you have high blood pressure, I would suggest that you don't do this practice. But what is accessible to you is to always visualize. So you can practice along in your mind if you feel that you'd like to do so, imagining that you're practicing with us at this time. So if there are any motor concerns with grasping as well, or holding the fist tight, you can visualize this practice. Again, we place our feet flat on the floor. And as we inhale, we make tight fists. And then as we exhale, we release. So we can try this together. You can place the palms down on the lap if that's more comfortable for you. I will keep my hands up to demonstrate for you. So inhaling, making a tight fist, and exhaling, releasing the fists. And you can breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth, or in through the nose and out through the nose, whatever is comfortable for you. Inhaling, creating a fist, and exhaling, releasing the fists. We'll try that one more time together. Inhaling, creating a fist, and really holding on here, feeling the tightness of the fist, and exhaling, relaxing down. This can actually be practiced on all areas of the body if you choose, but this is a simple one that you can do seated or standing in any place at any time. So if you feel that this helps your body to relax, you can also practice this by contracting any area, contracting the feet, contracting the legs, the abdomen, the face, etc., and releasing. So another practice that we can do is called the body scan. And this is a practice for focusing on your senses and your body. It can draw your mind to the present moment and help you to stabilize anxiety by connecting what is, again, happening right now in front of you, instead of focusing on the anxiety itself. And the body scan can be used as cognitive behavioral therapy as well. It also assists to move the mind out of thinking processes and into the sensing process, offering visceral reality as a foundation to concentrate on. The body scan should start from the ground up so that it's stabilizing you. It should never start from your sight or from looking outward. It should always be inward and down. And this can help, again, to anchor your senses instead of feeling like they're slipping away and spinning out of control. When the practice is done with a deep, long inhalation and long exhalation, 1-1 ratio, as we've already learned today, this practice becomes most effective. So breathing in for a count of 1, breathing out for a count of 1, long inhalation and exhalation. So let's take a look at what this practice looks like. All right. So I can walk you through this practice so that you can experience it and you can share it as well. If you'd like to, again, begin by placing your feet flat on the floor and drawing attention to the breath. Here, if you feel comfortable, you can close the eyes or you can keep the eyes open, whatever is comfortable for you. In a real-time situation, A person might actually have to just be seated wherever they are to find a comfortable seat and pay attention to their senses. So their eyes would generally be open. So we begin by sensing the ground under our feet. And similar to the autogenic training we learned today, we begin to recite internally, I am aware that my feet are on the ground. Taking a moment to really ground, breathing in and breathing out. And here the breath again is equilibrating to help to bring us back into a state of rest. As we feel our toes on the ground, we can recite internally, I am aware that my toes are on the ground. Breathing in and breathing out. 1-1 ratio. Now slowly and gently, you can begin to notice the surroundings just around your feet, keeping the eyes towards the floor. Taking a moment, feeling the grounding sensation as you breathe in 1, inhaling, and breathing out 1, exhaling through the nose. Then we move to the sense of touch, feeling the texture of the clothing, feeling yourself sitting down. Reciting internally, I am aware that the chair is supporting me. From there, we can move to the feeling of our fingertips. Reciting internally, I am aware, breathing in and breathing out. I am aware of the tips of my fingers. As we breathe in, ratio 1-1, we can feel our back and neck relax, inhaling and exhaling. Feeling the breath moving slowly into the abdomen and up into the chest as we breathe in. Again, the belly rises. Recite internally, I am aware of my breath. Exhaling back down through the nose. And as we exhale, we feel the sensation of the breath in the nostrils. Reciting gently and slowly, I am aware of the sensation of my breath. Breathing in, belly's expanding, ratio 1-1, exhaling down through the nose now, breathing out, long exhalation. And then gently and slowly we draw our attention to the mouth. And if you like, you can press the tip of your tongue to the back of your teeth. Internally reciting, I'm aware of the saliva in my mouth. Activating sense of taste. I am aware of the saliva in my mouth. Noticing now your body temperature as you breathe in and breathe out. I am aware of my body temperature. And then gently and slowly as you breathe in and breathe out, again, equilibrating that breath, feeling the abdomen expand, breathing down gently. Slowly and gently begin to notice what you are seeing. Again, keeping the eyes to the floor, keeping the eyes on the ground. And if you feel comfortable at that point, if you feel less anxious, you can start to also witness and notice what you're hearing, noticing the space around you. Gently lifting the eyes and softening the eyes as you continue to focus on your breath. Inhaling and exhaling and just noticing. Just noticing. Coming back to the breath, gently and slowly, feeling the feet again firm on the ground. Your palms are down on your thighs, really feeling the palms down on the thighs. Breathing in and breathing out. Long inhalation and long exhalation. So this is the process of the body scan. And we can repeat this process if needed, focusing on our felt sensory awareness and our breath in a long, slow inhalation and exhalation, working our way up from the ground to the sight and then finally to the hearing. The reason that we do this is, we want the individual to really feel their senses and feel completely grounded so that they are able to, again, come back to their breath and relax. Once we start lifting the eyes and looking around, once we start noticing sounds, it can be aggravating if we're experiencing anxiety. So those are the last senses that we would focus on before we come back into our environment. All right? So that brings us into the senses. Senses are often overlooked and so important for us to experience and to allow us to reintegrate every day, because our senses are constantly moving outwards as we're seeing, as we're hearing, as we are thinking, as we're smelling, as we're tasting, as we are touching. So our senses affect how we feel, function, and think. Everything that we see, touch, taste, smell, and hear becomes the basis for our direct perception and interaction with the world. Our senses are an extension of our mind, and they provide the mind with information about our environment. The experiences that we create, physical, mental, and emotional impressions, impact how we perceive the world and the relationship around us. So if our senses are not functioning optimally, our perception, our memories, and the quality of our experiences can be directly impacted. Sensory care can help to maintain and sustain our overall health and well-being. So we're going to look into how the senses can help us with anxiety, stress, and fear, and to also help promote rest. Of course, one of our senses is smell, and aromatherapy can be used and utilized to bring relaxation through our limbic system, which is involved in emotional processing. So again, here from the holistic perspective, we want to look into the emotions, including how we respond to anxiety. Specific aromas can produce a desired change in mood, such as a relaxation response. And studies have observed that the reduction in anxiety can happen with the aid of essential oils, specifically lavender, bergamot, and chamomile, because they appear to have a sedative effect. So aromas are also employed in CBT to draw attention to the five senses and to ground us in the moment, as we discussed previously. If you'd like to try it at home, what you can do is simply choose a favorite scent of a natural pure essential oil and add a few drops to your diffuser and then let it vaporize throughout your space. At nighttime for sleep regime, you can add a few drops of essential oil to a warm bath or to a scented foot soak. And you can also be mindful that while you're doing this, sometimes essential oils can irritate your skin. So it's a good idea to perform a patch test in advance. What I'd also like to share is that if you have a carrier oil like a sesame oil or a jojoba oil, you can mix your pure essential oil with it, and then you can place it in your palms and you can breathe. Just breathe that scent in, and it is very grounding, has an earthing effect on the body and the senses. So you can take a vial around with you if you like aroma and if you feel that this could be helpful. Working with sight and meditation and mindfulness, what we can do is observe our natural landscapes. So natural landscapes and elemental spaces are charged with oxygen atoms known as negative ions that energize the body, boost the immunity, and benefit the mood. A recent study recognized that the negative ions found in nature decrease depression, and negative ions are generated by moving water, sunlight, air, and earth. So when we're immersed in the natural elements, our bodies can become charged with negative ions and we become more relaxed. As nature therapy, what we would do at this time is we would become more self-reliant by walking in nature as a place for refuge and grounding. So this can be as simple as walking around the block if you need to, noticing the trees and the sky, the birds, sitting outside on a porch or a backyard. And also really important, looking out to the horizon. So often we are looking at our devices very close. We're nearsighted, but we want to increase being looking out and seeing the vista, looking out to calming spaces, open fields, water bodies, which can also increase this feeling of space and relaxation and freedom. So this is sensory nourishment for the eyes. And of course, we want to spend less time, reduce the time mindfully that we spend on our digital devices. And certainly looking at things like scary movies or violence that can disturb the mind and emotions, we can reduce that as well for sense of sight. For sense of taste, eating mindfully, becoming aware of smell, color, texture, tastes of food, eating slowly, savoring the food. This all aids with our digestion. And to eat also when we have the natural intelligence of the body signaling us to eat. So not overeating or over-consuming at this time for the sense of taste. We'd also, from a holistic perspective, be eating freshly cooked foods, natural foods, and avoiding anything that's packaged with preservatives. All of this can help with our prana, our life force, and the breath. And the sense of touch, which is very important during this time of isolation that we're facing. So touch studies are showing that oxytocin and dopamine are released in the brain in response to sensory stimuli, including the touch of the skin. And so consequently, self-care and interactive behaviors, whether it be with animals, pets, loved ones, can contribute to the everyday well-being and our ability to handle stress. It also is excellent. Touch is great for fatigue, pain, any types of mobility and flexibility issues as well through self-care. And what we would recommend is to actually heat some warm natural oil to massage into the joints and areas of the body to hydrate the skin, to soothe the joints. And this can actually help with better sleep and calm states of mind and cohesion of the senses as well. So if you're feeling anxious, discombobulated, or lethargic, then something like a warm oil that can be massaged into the joints or along the limbs can actually help to bring focus of clarity of mind. Now, what we want to ensure here is that we're using a natural oil if we do decide to do this. It is actually a very, it's excellent for cracking and popping, relieving pain from the joints. So I will go through the procedure with you here. You want to start with a natural and safe oil. You're going to check the ingredients, of course, to make sure that it's not synthetic so that it's healthy for your skin. And you can pour a few drops of oil onto your skin to test the area for any allergies as well. If your skin reacts, you can discontinue the use. But if not, we would pour about a quarter cup of cold pressed natural oil into a squeezed bottle and close the cap on the bottle to seal it from leaking. And then after that, we put that bottle into a bowl or pan of hot water, heating the oil so that it becomes warm. Then we test the temperature to ensure that the oil is comfortably warm for the skin. And we can pour the oil into the center of the palm, the warm oil. And with the open palm, we can then apply it liberally to the limbs and to the joints. If there's swelling or inflammation in the joints, we would actually do this counterclockwise to open up that area and release joint pain or any types of swelling and inflammation. You can also do a long stroke along the limb if you like. And this is excellent for best results. You can do this during every day if you have the time to do so. And if it's just for local aches and pains that are happening that might be a little bit more acute, less chronic, you can do it just in that localized area. And so we'll look into the sense of sound as well. So there are always sounds around us that are available to us, but in the sense of working with mindfulness and meditation, we can have internalized sounds and phrases. When we combine the breath with internal phrases or specific sounds called mantra, this can bring the mind into one pointed focused concentration, clarity, and relaxation. Dr. Kumar of the Harvard Mind-Body Medical Institute indicates that sound, specifically mantra, brings a relaxation response to the body and the brain. Mantra can stimulate the vagus nerve, which supplies to the tympanic membrane of the ear canal, and this helps to reduce the anxiety and activity of the sympathetic nervous system, enabling us to come into a relaxed state and bypassing that stress. Mantra practice also helps us to bypass the amygdala activation in the brain, which is responsible for fear and anger. and thereby reducing anxiety. So the Sanskrit translation of mantra is actually to free or protect the mind. And the repetition of mantra allows us to, again, focus on one sound that relieves the pattern of numerous thought processes. So for the purposes of focus, what we can actually do to focus is to choose one word. So as we inhale, if we'd like to practice the meditation, we can inhale and choose the word joy, for example. Inhale, joy. Exhale, joy. Inhale, joy. Exhale, joy. So when anything is happening that starts to make you feel anxious or stressed, you can simply come back to the breath and meditate on a positive word, and that can be your mantra. And again, it can be inaudible or it can be audible. All right. So these are the practices that we can utilize, working with the mind, body, spirit, and senses. And I'd like to just finish by looking at the benefits of also having a routine, that be a daily routine or a sleep routine. When we are facing anxiety, we can often feel again that our life is moving out of control. And so what we can control, how we can bring control back into our life to restore balance, is through order, establishing consistent daily practice and routine. And we can do this to help also with our circadian rhythm and our biological clock. So our bodies are biological clocks with the succession of circadian rhythm, and this cycle fluctuates over a 24-hour period. When there's a misalignment or prolonged misalignment between our lifestyle and circadian rhythm, we can have a risk of increased disharmony in the body or dis-ease. So having a predictable routine can reduce anxiety and improve focus and productivity. And again, at a time when our lives might feel out of order and we've lost control, it's important to restore order and routine as a means of structure to reestablish control. Something that's very simple that we can do is wake up and go to sleep at the same time every day. This helps the body to correspond with the cycle of the day and creates routine and order so that the body clock knows when to wake up and when to sleep. It also allows us to gain more light exposure. Light exposure, waking up on time in the morning, can reset the clock of the system and help us with a variable that is connected to mealtime schedule. So eating at the same time every day, waking up and going to sleep at the same time every day can help us to gain control and regulate the systems of the body. Rest and digest. Our circadian rhythm also helps us, our digestive system and metabolism, to maintain balance. So when the body is well rested, our hormones, thyroid gland, and can function optimally, triggering hunger and enzymatic juices that aid in our digestion. So for optimal digestive results, again, we try eating at the same time every day and to support a resilient digestive system. So moving forward, we can also look into systems of moderation. And that means that we can practice routine through moderation and establish order through moderation as a mean to stability and consistency. So moderation means less distraction and more preservation of our energy. And this helps us to maintain a state of rest. That means that we can moderate our consumption of sleep, food habits, and digital devices, which allow us to then stay away from the stimulated sensory experiences that can keep us from mindful rest. Again, overstimulation can increase of the senses, can increase our anxiety and overwhelm. So during times of stress and overwhelm, moderating and reducing our stressors from life can help to simplify life and reduce the impact of stress. And finally, moving into sleep and sleep hygiene and having a proper sleep routine. So we know that we wake up at the same time every day, we sleep at the same time every day, and we try to eat at the same time every day. During times of stress or challenge, we can experience frequent sleep disturbances, daytime sleepiness, or we can take a long time to fall asleep. All of these instances indicate that you can feel or need a bit of assistance with a sleep routine. For sleep routine, there are some simple things that we can do. We can try not to nap during the day because this can disrupt the natural rhythm of the body. We can avoid taking stimulants before we sleep because this can disrupt our sleep. We can take a little bit of movement for the body. So simple breath practices, joint mobility, rotation, oilation of the body, Tai Chi or yoga can improve our sleep. We can also learn to eat early. So eating early can help us digest our food before we sleep. Eating before we sleep can be disruptive to our sleeping patterns. And to also be mindful of what we're eating. Heavy foods, fried foods, spicy dishes, these things can also trigger indigestion during sleep. And in addition, we balance our fluid intake. So the fluid intake should be balanced because we want to be conscious that we're not drinking too much before we go to bed, which can disrupt us while we are sleeping to wake and to go to the bathroom. We also want to ensure that we have adequate exposure to natural light. So this is particularly important for individuals who may not venture outside frequently. Exposure to sunlight during the day, as well as darkness at night, helps to maintain a healthy sleep-wake cycle. So establishing a regular, relaxing bedtime routine is a great way to help you fall asleep. And this includes maybe taking a warm shower, meditation, gentle aromatherapy, reflective writing, reviewing the day through your mind so that your mind doesn't have to do it during sleep time. Emotionally upsetting conversations or videos should be avoided. And it's advised to also start winding down after dinner time and moving towards sleep by 10 p.m. if possible. Creating a sleep environment that's pleasant with mattresses and pillows, a cool, dark room can also be very optimal. And we suggest that you don't have any technological devices in your room, such as computers that are on during your time of sleep as well. The outcome is that our bodily functions and cycles operate efficiently, keeping our system strong and energized with a peace of mind, remembering that the greatest rest is inner peace. Thank you. So at this time, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
Thank you, Nicole, for an informative presentation on this growing topic. There were a few questions that did come in, and we can address a few of them right now as we're just coming up to time. The first question is, should I do relaxation practices every day? Will the effect wear out?
No. So the effect will not wear out, and you should practice, yes, absolutely, relaxation practices every day. There are various practices that you can try, and certainly you can try a few that we've practiced together today, but the effect will not wear out. So it's similar to sleep, that we sleep every day, we relax in sleep every day, and relaxation practices have the same response in that we allow the body to go into a resting state. So it won't wear out, and you can practice during the day or in the evening time every day.
Okay, great. The second question that came in is, sometimes I wake up and can't go back to sleep. Do you have any tips for that?
I think that, again, some of the tips that we spoke about can really help with our sleep cycle by resetting our system. So first and foremost, we want to ensure, again, that we're waking up and going to sleep at the same time every day. This can help with sleep disruption. The other piece is, again, to make sure that we're giving ourselves enough time to wire down before we go to sleep, to calm the body. If you do find that you are waking up, I would check what time that is when you're waking. There could be something happening in the sleep cycle that is waking you up. It could be after a 90-minute point where we enter a new phase of the state of the mind that we go into for dream states, for example. So there could be something that's happening at a certain phase of time of sleep, and we want to pay attention to what that is. But checking that time, you can also, after that moment, lie down, go back to sleep in the sense of starting to breathe, notice your breath, bringing the body back into relaxation. The other tip that I would give is to actually have something before sleep that can help to calm the body. Maybe it can be like a warm milk and honey. Something as simple as that can help the body to relax and to stay in a relaxed state. So definitely by waking up at the same time every day, trying to normalize the system and the rhythm of the system can help with the sleep pattern. So try doing those activities, and that should be helping you to not have disrupted sleep.
Okay, and the last question for our time limit here is that this audience member says that they realize they need to change the practice of their inhalation. They inhale and do not fill the stomach, so they're sort of at the starting gate, but they're having difficulty maintaining that. Is there anything they can do to help correct this practice?
Yes. So absolutely, what we can do is begin by practicing lying down on our back. And the reason for that is the diaphragm is given a little bit more space. So as we begin to inhale, when we're lying down on the ground on our back, a flat surface, we can place our palms down onto the belly and just begin to breathe into the abdomen and see if that lying down position can then help to fill the abdomen. And then when you breathe out, that will help the abdomen to relax and pull towards the spine. So that is number one, lying down on the back and practicing breathing in and breathing out, placing the palms down onto the abdomen. The other piece is what I would call the 3-part breath, where we inhale into the stomach, feel the belly rise, then we place the palms to midsection of the chest, inhaling into the chest, placing the palm onto the top of the chest, inhaling into the chest, and then breathing out in one long elongation of breath. This can help the body with the sense of touch to expand. Each time it is touched, when you breathe in, the body can begin to expand in each section of the diaphragm and into the chest. And this can be very helpful. So sense of touch, lying down on the ground and trying to breathe in parts, beginning at the abdomen and working your way up into the upper chest can help to reset the nervous system. So what needs to happen is an autonomic reset. And we can do this by the 3-part breath and lying on the ground. And then gradually and naturally, it will happen on its own.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Nicole, once again for your insightful presentation. And thank you, everyone, for attending today's session. You can follow Nicole on Instagram at Jai Wellness, Jai Wellness, or visit her website at jaiwellness.com. Please stay tuned on the Parkinson Facebook page and by email for upcoming webinars and the Facebook live streams coming this week. In conclusion, on behalf of Parkinson Canada, we wish you all an enjoyable afternoon.